Tully River. He has always considered Broken Bow his home. Please help me welcome my fellow classmate from the graduating class of 1984, and more importantly, one of my lifelong best friends, Broken Bow alumnus, Chris Chandler.
Thank you. This is an honor. I am a Broken Bow graduate. I've lived in Oklahoma City, Tulsa, New Mexico, Dallas, Atlanta, a lot of other places, but this is home, and it always will be. It's both the place I'm from and the place that calls me back. I went to high school, same high school that you guys just walked down as students for the last time about a week ago, played football on this field, and a long time ago, when a cell phone was something you got one phone call from if you were arrested, I was sitting where you guys are sitting, and I was thinking, wow, this is awesome, I'm glad to graduate, but I'm gonna go on with my life, and I'm gonna go to college and then to somewhere else. I figured I would probably wind up in Dallas or Los Angeles or New York, and that's where I would be. And the reason I tell you this is because I live in DeQueen, Arkansas, and I have a pet pig. I'm not making this up. If I was gonna make something up, I'd say I lived in Las Vegas and had a pet tiger, like down the street from Mike Tyson. Every Thursday we have tiger fights. Loser has to tattoo his face. Guess whose tiger always wins? This guy. Now, I really do live in DeQueen and have a pet pig, and I couldn't be happier. I know many of you, if not all of you, have plans, and most of them are probably good plans. I just want you to know that whatever you've planned is not gonna work out the way you've planned it, and that's okay. There's a saying in the military that no plan survives first contact with the enemy. And in life, no plan will survive first contact with the world. Don't freak out. Don't think you've failed. These detours that you're gonna go on, that you hadn't planned, may take you exactly where you need to be. I didn't plan on living 25 miles from where I went to high school, but I'm happier where I am than I can ever imagine being anywhere else, and I'm happier where I live and who I lived with, not the pig, I have a wife, she's awesome, than I would be in New York or Dallas or Los Angeles. The transition from childhood to adulthood is going to be a shock to many of you. Adulthood is mostly a matter of responsibility. And as a child, you may think of responsibility like blame, like who's responsible for this? Responsibility is literally the ability to respond. As a child, you react to things by looking to an adult, usually a parent, to help you. As an adult, it's going to be you. If your car won't start, well, you better find a way to make it start or find another ride. Hungry? Well, food is sold everywhere, but it's going to cost money. And as recent high school graduates, you're not going to have a lot of money. So I want to introduce you to something that may be a big part of your life, at least for the next year or two. It's called ramen. It's a food-like substance. I've read that it's really not that good for you, but 12 bucks of this will feed you for a month. And so, when you're eating your ramen out of a coffee cup and longing for the posh and elegance of the Broken Bow cafeteria, you can rest assured that you made the right decision. You saved money to do something else, like maybe buy a starter for your car, and also know and take pride in the fact you're making your own way in life. And though the rosy picture of young adulthood that I've painted for you may scare the crap out of you, know that one of the greatest feelings in the world is knowing that you can take care of yourself. Speaking of things that scare the crap out of you, don't be afraid to fail. Fear of failure always keeps you from trying. And it's the things you don't do that you'll regret. Within reason. Don't go and rob a liquor store and say, well, that lawyer guy said it's things you don't do that you regret. No, be reasonable. I'm talking about things you wouldn't do because you're afraid of fear or rejection. Ask that girl out. Or this is 2016. Girls, ask that guy out. And you guys have an awesome ego recovery thing that we didn't have. You have cell phones. You can text them, hey, Chelsea, you want to go out with me? If she texts back, no, thank you, then you can just text back, oops, wrong Chelsea, sorry, and your ego survives. And it's not that big a deal. Even in Broken Bow, the headline in the paper is not going to have your picture and say, dude gets rejected. That just doesn't happen. It doesn't mean that much to other people. I mean, the mayor will get bitten by a squirrel, or somebody will get assaulted with a frozen chicken or something. So don't be afraid to do those small things. That's a small failure. Don't be afraid to fail big. Move to the city. See if you like it. I went to Los Angeles in 1991, and I didn't have a job or a place to live. I got a job with a temp agency and lived in my car for a week while I looked for a room to rent. And at that time, my parents had plenty of money and would have loaned me or even given me some. But I didn't want to take that. Partially because during my 6-year career as an undergraduate college student, I had spent a lot of my parents' money. Yeah. As Superintendent Elliser mentioned, we graduated from high school together, but she graduated from college 3 years before I did, or as I put it, I was held back. So, anyway, you guys don't think that these small failures can stop you. In fact, look at failure as part of success. There's actually a quote that I love that says, failure is not the opposite of success, it's a part of it. And that is true. I failed. I changed my major 5 times, but I did eventually get a degree, and I learned some valuable lessons. I learned that you should study, you should actually look at the books that you have, that you bought at the bookstore for class, and you should go to class. And I actually used those lessons 8 years later, because when I went to law school, I did study, I did read, and I graduated from law school in 2.5 years. It usually takes 3. And I probably would not have been able to do that if I hadn't failed in college, in undergraduate. But this is an interesting thing, by the way. I went to 8th grade in Texas, where they graduate from junior high and 9th grade, and went to 9th grade here. So you don't have to listen to anything I say, because I don't even have a middle school diploma. All right, so I'm in Los Angeles, and my temporary job turns into a permanent one. And I get to move to a really nice place. I make a lot of money. I saw a lot of things in LA and experienced a lot, but I also saw some bad things. I witnessed a murder directly across the street from my house in North Hollywood, and I was there during the LA riots. Now, you guys weren't born then, but if you've seen the movie Straight Outta Compton, that was my sales territory. Dominguez Hills and Compton and South Central Los Angeles was where I worked. And I was there during the riots that are portrayed in that movie. By the way, I told my dad I never told my mom, but I told my dad about the murder, and a week later at work, I get a package, I open it up, it's a 9mm pistol with ammunition in the mail. You had to know my dad. So anyway, I decided that Los Angeles wasn't where I wanted to spend the rest of my life. I moved back to Broken Bow, and my best friend and I started a business, and it failed. But the lessons we learned from that failure, we used in the business we currently are co-owners in, that is a great success. And I don't have to wonder what life would have been like if I had gone to LA. I had that experience. For those of you going to college, go to class, even the ones you think are boring or you're not interested in. You might find you're really interested in a subject that you had no idea you care about. And even for you who's not going to college, you're going to meet different people with different ideas. Don't think just because they think differently than you that they're wrong. But also, don't think that just because you think differently from them that you're wrong. One of the things I love about law is that you get to ask questions about things. A jury and sometimes a judge are called a finder of fact. Both sides are arguing, both sides have a point to make, and they get to ask each other questions. So as an adult, you don't just take what somebody says as fact. Ask questions about it. As an adult, you should ask questions, and as a child and young adult, I made a lot of mistakes based on facts that I didn't check out. Now, as a kid, I always had intelligence. I didn't always have wisdom. And they're two very different things. A good friend of my family once told me, Chris, you're the smartest idiot I've ever met. In real life, wisdom is more important than intelligence, and wisdom often comes through experience. I would ask you to try to learn through other people's mistakes instead of your own, and not do that. But if you do make mistakes, and you will, instead of being negative and getting down on yourself, say, wow, I'll never do that again, thanks for the lesson, and go on. The way you look at the world 2 years from now is going to be a lot different than the way you look at it today. One weakness that's actually a huge strength is being a geek. I was and am a geek, and in high school I tried to act like I wasn't, but ask anybody, I failed at that miserably. There's a great quote from scripture that says, the meek shall inherit the earth. Now and that's true. For the 21st century, we might say the geeks shall inherit the earth. Bill Gates is not the richest person in the world because he had the coolest car in high school. So for you geeks, rejoice, you are free. You are going into a world where your talents are going to be appreciated. And for you that aren't geeks, be geekier. Or make friends with the geek. And not just to jailbreak your iPhone. We're interesting people. And if you believe like my brother Cliff does, then when our robot overlords try to enslave us with your geek buddies, you'll have a chance to survive. I want to speak a little about being American. You guys came of age during a period of anti-government sentiment. The government is viewed as bad or even the enemy. But this is the United States. We're the government. You're the government. Get involved. Be active. A lot of you guys are probably going into the military. Thank you, and God protect you. I don't have, if you don't have a plan yet, consider being a volunteer for national service. There's a group called AmeriCorps. That's AMERICORPS. It's a national civil service, and you can get about $1,000 stipend per month, plus they will give you at the end of a year of service $5,000 to apply toward education. It's great. And your nation needs you. Where we're sitting was built in 1936 by the WPA, actually by a part of the WPA called the NYA, the National Youth Administration. 16 to 25-year-olds built this stadium 80 years ago, and it's still here, and it'll still be here 80 years from now. You guys can accomplish great things. Don't think you can't. Also, if you watch what are called reality shows like Survivor, where people lie and cheat and steal and stab each other in the back to succeed, that's not reality. There's an old Arabic saying, Arabic is in Middle East, that goes, me against my brother, me and my brother against my cousins, me, my brother, and my cousins against the tribe, and me and my tribe against the world. As Americans, we should reject that. We should turn it around. It's me with my brothers, me and my brothers with my cousins, me and my cousins with my community, me and my community with my country. And that's why we have accomplished so much as Americans in this world, and will continue to do so with your help. Some of you think you're at a disadvantage because your diplomas are going to say bow after broken instead of arrow, or because you went to public school instead of private school. Don't. It's actually a huge advantage. You've grown up with a lot of freedom that other people don't have. You can go 10 minutes away from your house and not see another human being. I had a friend in college that came down when I was a freshman. He was from Chicago. And we went and did the things that I did in high school. We rode ATVs and shotguns and went to the lake. And he said, Chandler, this is the coolest thing I've ever done. And he meant it. And he was rich, and he'd been to a lot of different countries. This is not an isolated opinion. When you leave here tonight, you'll probably be a little frustrated because, well, even though the weather's awesome, you're wearing a hot black robe in mid-May, and you had to listen to an old guy that nobody knows make a boring speech, And there's a bunch of idiots from Texas making a traffic jam in Broken Bow. Think about that last one. They're mostly from Dallas. Dallas has a million things to do and a million places to go. But they come here because this is where they want to be. They didn't make a wrong turn on the way to Six Flags and then were embarrassed to ask directions. They want to be here because they want what you have. These lakes and these rivers, and to get away from the hustle and bustle of Dallas and the big buildings and, ironically, the traffic. So they're causing that here. When you leave here tonight, you're going to go out and you're going to go to a million different places. You're going to change the way you speak, you're going to change the way you dress, and you're going to change the way you act. And that's fine. A lot of that is exposure to a place outside this small community you grew up in, and some of it's just growing up. But you're going to find, I think, when you get older, that there's a part of you that's going to stay here, and you're going to love this place. Whether you wind up in a penthouse in New York or with a pig in Arkansas, you're going to be proud to be from Broken Bow. And part of you is going to stay wild like the lakes and the rivers and the streams that you grew up around. So basically, no matter what you do, at your core, you are and will always be a savage. This has been an honor for me. Thank you. God bless you. And welcome to the world.